Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name's Mary Margaret, and today we're doing a little bit of a different type of video. Usually on my channel I stick to vlogs, like weekly vlogs, day in the life, travel videos, but I always get a ton of requests to share tips on how to get into influencing, and I've actually already filmed a video on that, so I will link it right up here. But today I want to do something a little bit different that still taps into the influencing field. So today we are filming a things I wish I knew before I started influencing. I thought it would be fun to film, and yeah, I haven't really seen anyone else post this type of video yet. In the grand scheme of things, it is still a very new job. It hasn't been around that long. Of course, there's been like YouTubers for years, but actually just like straight up influencing, like Instagram, TikTok, that type of job, it's still pretty new. And so I know a lot of people have questions, and I kind of wanted to just make this to give you guys insight as to like the pros and cons of doing this as your full-time job. I didn't post like a question box or anything. I really just wanted to tap into my personal experience and kind of what I would find valuable information if I was younger and was interested in starting doing influencing and kind of wanted to know like the ins and outs of this as a job. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. I'm gonna stop rambling. I made a little notes in my phone. I tried to keep them pretty even, like the same amount for each. Obviously I want to throw out there that this is all my personal experience, and this is literally my dream job, so I don't want y'all to think I'm like complaining or ungrateful in any way when I get to the cons section. They really aren't anything major, but with every job there's gonna be pros and cons, and so I wanted to share some of the not as fun things that comes with doing influencing. So let's start off on a good note, and we'll get right into the pros. We have a good bit. The first one is that you can work from home. I know during 2020, when everyone was sitting at home, it was really nice being able to do your job from home, and then when people got sent back into the office, a lot of people missed that work at home setting, and so that's just one of the pros that comes with influencing. I get to work from home every day, which just means my schedule is like a little bit more flexible, but also you can work from anywhere. I travel and I can still post, I can still do emails, I'll do it on the car if we're on a road trip, or if I'm visiting family, I can do my job from my phone there. So it's a very flexible job. That kind of leads me into the second point, is that you make your own schedule because you are your own boss. So there's really no one above you unless you have management. Then you are the one making your schedule. You are the one setting your time of like, okay, I'm gonna wake up at this time, open my laptop, we're gonna get going, and then I'm gonna close my laptop at this time because I wanna like take time to myself. Kind of pick and choose when you want to work, which could be a good thing or a bad thing depending on if you have like good time management skills. And this kind of goes into my next one. I feel like a lot of my points all tie into each other, but you also are able to take on as much or as little work as you want. And I'll kind of tie this one into my next point, which is you get to determine how much money you make. So with a standard job, like an office job, you're typically getting a set salary, and unless you get like a Christmas bonus or a yearly bonus or anything like that, or if you have like a side job, other than that, like that is how much money you make, which can be a good thing because it allows you to budget properly each month and kind of know exactly how much money you're gonna be having coming in. But with influencing and a lot of other self-employed jobs, you are the one determining how much you make, depending on how determined you are to go after clients and jobs and partnerships. So if I am super busy traveling one month, or if something happens with family and I kind of want to take time off of social media, obviously that will be a slower month. But if I'm in like a work grind mindset, then I can go after brands, really push my content, my links, and all of that, and make more than the month before. So it's really all about how much work you're willing to put into it. But it's nice because there really is no set limit on how much you can make. You ultimately are the one determining how much money is coming in. And again, this also leads into my next point, which is there's a lot of different streams of income. There's partnerships and collabs, which I would say is most influencers like main chunk of income. So that is a partnership like I just did with Princess Polly. It's really just A to B, you influencer working with a brand, a company, and promoting a product. I would say that is the most common source of income for influencers. But then there's also UGC, which I personally have taken on a lot of UGC this year in 2023. So that is working with the brand. They'll send you product, you create the content, and then you just send it to the brand and they can use however they want. It's discussed over the contract and like in the terms of agreement, but they can use that on their socials, on emails, on SMS, on their website, anything like that, any like sort of marketing tactic, they can use that UGC content, and the influencer is not required to do any posting on their page. Of course, you can share it if you want, but it's just UGC, user-generated content, so you just simply hand off the content to the brand and then they get to determine what they do with it. And then there's also whitelisting and dark ads. So those two can be a little bit confusing, but again, you are creating content, and then with whitelisting, hopefully I'm saying this right, I'll probably have to Google it to double check because I even still get a little bit confused. But whitelisting is when you, basically like a collab, so Princess Polly, I'm just using them as an example. Princess Polly sends me clothes, I shoot a photo with it, I post it, I'm promoting the product. They will then put money behind my post to boost it, so basically putting like ad money behind it, so it's getting pushed to more audiences. Whereas a dark ad is when you give a brand access to like your Facebook business profile, because Instagram and Facebook are connected, Meta, they are one, especially when it comes to like business side of things, so like ad dollars and all of that. So you will give a brand access and they will basically, again, they'll send you product, you shoot content, and then you send them that content and they go through the back end of like Meta and run a dark ad. So I have done this with L-Space, and I think there was another brand, but L-Space is the first one that came to mind. And so they will post one of my like photos and run it as like a story ad or a feed post ad, but they're the ones putting the money behind it, but it looks like it's an ad from me. So that's kind of whitelisting and dark ads. Those are like two other streams of income. And then there's also Like to Know It, of course. A lot of you guys probably know what that is, but it's just a linking platform, so influencers can make commission through the links that they share. And then there's also like TikTok Shop, which is a little bit newer, and also the Creator Fund on TikTok. And then of course there's YouTube monetization and like Depop. I wouldn't really consider Depop a part of it, but it is like getting more common for influencers. So because we are sent so many clothes, obviously we cannot keep it all. I like to gift a lot of mine or donate it, but some things are like really nice. They still have tags and I just know someone would get better use out of it. And so I will then put that product or clothing item, typically clothing, sometimes shoes, on Depop, and then you can make money on it. You didn't purchase the item, so there's really no like cost coming out, but you are profiting off of that sale of the used item, or if it still has tags. So those are a lot of the streams of income. I know I'm probably forgetting a few, but those are all of the ones I could think of off the top of my head. So it's not always just like a collab. I do a lot of UGC, so I'm able to post more freely on my Instagram and TikTok of like content that's like true to me and more just for fun. And then the UG content is like on the back end. A lot of people don't see that, but it's a big stream of income for me personally. And then another pro is that you kind of just grow, obviously, this community with your audience, like your followers, but also other creator friends. You're constantly like interacting, engaging on people's profiles, DMing, and if you ever visit a city where like one of your influencer friends is from, you basically just have like a little built-in friend when you're traveling. You can meet up with them, grab coffee, shoot photos, and it's just really fun getting to like finally meet your Instagram friends in person, because you already feel like y'all are best friends. So finally getting to meet in person is always so fun. So of course I have that as a pro. And then let's see, depending on what type of influencer you are, because there's tons of kinds. There's pet influencers, there's food influencers who are always like baking, trying new recipes. There's like workout influencers, lifestyle influencers, travel, fashion, beauty, all of that. So depending on what you are, you're most likely going to be spending less money in that area because brands will be working with you and sending you product to try out. So I would say my main focus is like lifestyle, travel, and fashion. So because of that, I really don't find myself spending money on clothes anymore. I really don't spend that much money on makeup or skincare either because I get a lot of gifting, product gifting in that area. So it ends up saving you money in areas that you might have used to spend a lot in. Another pro is that, again, depending on what you do, a lot of the things that you do, you are actually able to write off for tax purposes. So like getting my hair done, my nails, if I have to buy makeup, if I'm buying clothes that I can then promote on Like to Know It or like link somewhere, traveling for work. So like if we go on a trip and I'm filming it for YouTube, I'm posting TikToks about it, all of that stuff, I can typically write off like the flights. And then same thing that kind of goes with that is like meals. So meals while traveling that I'm promoting. If you meet up with friends and like you're going to shoot content and you get coffee or like lunch, you can write that off because it's all very intertwined. Again, influencing is still very new, so a lot of the write-off things can be, it's like a little bit fuzzy on like what you can and can't do. So if you have a CPA or like a financial advisor in your life, definitely ask them first before doing any like major purchases that you're just planning on being a write-off, because a lot of things you can't write off 100% of it. So like I think travel is 100% a write-off, and I think food as well, but other things you might only be able to write off like a percentage of it. My next pro is being able to give back. Like I mentioned, you get a lot of gifting as an influencer, and so kind of just like left with all this extra stuff. And so like I had mentioned, I like to donate a lot of things, and then I also gift a lot of it to my family, my sister, my mom, my sister-in-law, mother-in-law, friends back home, and also being able to give back to your followers, like doing giveaways of extra product and all of that is just, it makes you feel good being able to give back to the people that like constantly support you. I think that was everything that I had listed for pros. Obviously there are so many more, but that is what I wrote down for this video. So now we're going to swap over to the cons. Like I said, none of these are like complaints. They're just things that you might want to consider if you are looking to get into influencing. The first con is kind of touching back on the first pro that I mentioned, is that you do have to make your own schedule. You are your own boss and you have to have good time management. So if that is not your strong suit, then it's definitely something to consider, because you have to be like on it. You have to have a to-do list and be very organized when it comes to like deadlines, getting things approved, getting things posted, making sure you're using all of the right hashtags, tags, all of that stuff, because it can be a little bit overwhelming when you have multiple partnerships going on at once. So time management and organization are very big skills that are crucial to be an influencer. The next con, not everyone has this, but if you do have management, they do take 20%. Again, this is not like the end of the world, but it is just like a little thing that does come out. I've been doing influencing, I think, for over 2 years now, which is crazy. And I just recently signed with management, so this is definitely going to be an adjustment. But when signing with management, I feel like the main purposes are to like have a team to help you stay organized and to really get like the networking and connections that come with the management, which will hopefully lead to more brand partnerships with bigger budgets and everything like that. So in the end, that 20% shouldn't really be like anything negative, but if you are new to management and you didn't know that, it's definitely something to consider. My next con is feeling like you have to film everything and take photos of everything. I feel like I've always kind of filmed a lot and taken photos a lot. I've always loved like posting on Visco and Pinterest from a very young age, but now that this is my full-time job, it's obviously like heightened to a new level, because I try and post at least 2 videos every single day on TikTok, sometimes a reel every day, a feed post every day on Instagram, multiple stories every day. I usually have like 12 plus stories each day. I'm on YouTube, and it's just a lot of platforms to keep up with in terms of content. And so you definitely will feel like you constantly are like, oh, I need to get content of this. I need to take a picture of this. Oh, I'm getting ready for this. Let me just film and get ready with me. And it's kind of just like becomes your life. You are consumed by filming and taking pictures of everything. But it's good to have the memories to look back on. So again, there's always like a pro and a con for each thing. Okay, the next one is taxes. I like to mention this, but I don't want to touch on it too much because everyone's situation is different. Obviously, I'm not a CPA, so take everything that I say with a grain of salt. But my first year filing taxes as a full-time influencer was a very big shock to me. This was prior to having a CPA that specializes in what I do. So it was just a standard CPA. He was amazing. He was doing everything that he knew was right, but there was just things that I should have done a little bit differently for my job specifically. So my first year filing taxes as a full-time influencer, I filed as self-employed, which if you work a standard like W-2 job, then the employer pays their taxes and then you pay your taxes. But when you're self-employed, you're paying both sides of that. So you're kind of getting hit twice. And yeah, so that came as a very big shock. After that, I was like, I need to get it together. I need to figure out a better way to do this. And so we then hired a CPA who specializes in like self-employment and kind of like what we do as our job. So he was able to switch us over to an S Corp, which I feel like I'm not really gonna get into it, but basically it was just a better plan for us tax-wise. So that's probably all I'm gonna say on that, but just in general, taxes as an influencer is a little bit crazy. So I definitely recommend hiring someone to help out with that, just so that you're making sure you're making the best financial decisions. And I guess one other little thing I'll touch on for taxes is that if you receive product gifting that's worth over $600 in value, the brand can tax you on that, which is kind of crazy if you ask me, because you are being taxed on monetary gains that you were never given because you were paid in gifting. I'm trying to figure out how to say this. Like, instead of being like, all right, here's this shirt, now for taxes, here's a percentage of the shirt. Instead, I'm given a shirt and then I have to pay money out of my own bank that I was never given. Hope that makes sense. So this is your warning that if you're going to accept gifting that's over $600 worth in value, definitely clarify with the brand what the tax policy or procedure will be at the end of the year for that gifting. The next con is there's a lot of negative connotation when it comes to influencers. A lot of people think they are self-absorbed, snobby, fake, and it really makes me sad when I see TikTok videos of like people mocking influencers and making fun of them, because it's just nothing at all how we are portrayed to be. And so it just makes me sad when there's like this negative connotation, because me and a lot of my friends who are also influencers obviously like prioritize building real relationships with our communities. We only promote products that we genuinely love because we don't want to like risk that trust we've built. And so yeah, it's just like something that you deal with. Obviously a lot of jobs come with this, or like stereotyping, I guess, but it's just something that you kind of have to get past. Okay, my next con, and again, this isn't like to complain, it's just like honestly something a little bit funny that you might not know if you're not like seeing the behind the scenes and back end of things, but is having to shoot out of season things. So what I mean by that, especially for UGC, is like it will be summer and it's like 95 degrees, insanely hot in Florida, and a brand will be like, all right, we need you to shoot a fall campaign. We want fuzzy flannels, boots, jeans, a thick sweater, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm about to have to go out in 95 degrees pretending like it's fall for these photos in public. Like people are going to be staring at me thinking I'm crazy dressing like it's 50 degrees and I'm in the mountains. Meanwhile, I'm in a beach town and everyone's walking around in bikinis. So I feel like that's just a really good example of like some of the stuff that you guys might not know, is that you have to shoot stuff ahead of time so that they have time to like incorporate that content and promote it before the season actually hits. And then another example is like doing UGC for a jewelry company, and because your nails are going to be the main focus, like I actually recently did this, it was October, so it's around Halloween, and I had just gotten fall nails done. I really wanted brown chrome and I loved the way they turned out. And then the next week I was actually shooting a campaign for the spring, and they requested that I had like bright summery spring nails, and so I had to book another nail appointment, go in like 4 or 5 days after my previous nails had just been finished, and I had to get like bright blue monochromatic nails. My nail tech is like, oh, you didn't like the brown? Like, why are you back so soon? And I had to like explain to her what I was doing, that my hands were gonna be in a photo shoot for the spring. And then the next week I was like, okay, well, it's fall, I wanna go back to my fall nails. And then I had to re-get fall nails. So there's just like a lot of little behind the scenes things that, like that, where you're shooting stuff that's out of season because of the brand's request to like have content ahead of time. Okay, the next one is overconsumption. I touched a little bit about this as a pro in the sense of like being able to donate and gift my friends and family and followers things, but the con of that is obviously overconsumption. I feel like we're just constantly like taking in terms of like PR and collabs, and something I'm doing in 2024 is really trying to learn how to say no to products that I don't 100% need. So like a jewelry company reaching out, if it's not a brand that I already know and love and it's not a product that I don't already have, then I'm gonna try not to accept it, just because like I can only take so much, I can only wear so much at a time, and I really want to get better at like saying no to things that I don't absolutely need. It's also so much having like boxes and all of like the packing and shipping supplies, like it's so much waste, and it really makes me sad when I have to like pile up all of these boxes when it was just one tiny product inside of like boxes on boxes. So that's definitely a major con that comes with this job. My next con is that with most standard jobs, I honestly don't know what the payroll system is like. I believe it's like every 2 weeks or like once a month. Everywhere probably does a little bit differently, but with influencing, a lot of companies do net 30. So what that means is you will receive the product, shoot the campaign, do the posting, and then once all of your like requirements and deliverables are completed, you can then invoice the brand, and you have to do net 30. So let's say I invoice them on December 1st. You have 30 days from that invoice being sent out until you receive payment. Sometimes the brands will send it a little bit earlier, but their deadline is 30 days. So it's actually a very long time until we receive compensation for our work from when the job is completed. And going off of that, some brands do net 45, net 60, and I've even done a campaign that was net 90. Which that means I was getting paid 3 months after I completed the work, which is crazy. So that's definitely something that I feel like a lot of people don't know, and it's all just dependent on the brand. I think my last con is constantly running out of storage on your phone. I actually just got the new phone. This is the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and I got it with 1 terabyte of storage. My last phone I think had like the 256 or 258 gigabytes, whatever it is, and I was always running out of storage. And I only have like 30,000 photos. I know that's a lot, but I know some people who have like 100,000 photos or like 70,000 photos. And so for me to constantly be running out of storage from taking photos when that's literally my job, I have to do that every single day, it was becoming a very big issue. So I went ahead and upgraded to this one. Definitely utilize like iCloud storage and all of that, or if you have like a hard drive that you can offload pictures and videos on, I definitely recommend doing that as well. Okay. I think that was everything that I wanted to touch on. I had fun filming this. It's very different than I feel like my typical vlog style content. So if you enjoyed watching, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. And if you guys have any questions about anything that I mentioned or anything that I didn't mention and you guys like want a part 2, I'd be more than happy to film that. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you guys in the next video.